What's up, FPV enthusiast? So in the last video, I upgraded my tank to the V1 avatar system, and while I was actually in the process of doing that, the new Walksnail avatar VTX is released, and now I've got my hands on those. So I'm working on two new builds to give them a test. Currently, I have one build done here. I threw the Pro kit into this one here, so we'll be doing a first flight with that today. And in another build I'm working on here that's not quite done yet, I have the HD kit version 2. So we'll give that a test as soon as that's done. We'll do that in another video, but for today, in this video, we'll be mainly taking a look at the capabilities of the Sony sensor that's in this camera here. I'm really interested to see how it works. And also, while I'm currently working on this other build here, I will quickly go through the updating and binding process for the VTX. In the last video, I showed how I was mounting the VRX to my HD0 goggles. I do not have the Dominator goggles, so I decided to go this route and attach the VRX to these goggles here. As you can see, I had to 3D print out a bracket to kind of hold the VRX over my HD0 patches. I know that's not ideal. I know there's going to be performance drops in that. Once I get around to it, I will be purchasing two more of these stubbies here, and I'll just remove the patches and add those on there. I know there's been some debate as running these patches actually decrease performance, so I'll go ahead and get the stubbies at some point here and go that route. Plus, it'll be a little less bulky on my head here. It's kind of annoying at times, but honestly, I fly mostly whoops with the HD0, so I'm not really flying that far away, and I haven't noticed any real big downsides to having this VRX on it. But I wanted to make it known that, that's probably not, the most ideal way to go about this, but it's been fine for my needs currently. So my first endeavor with the avatar system here with the V1, it was amazing. I love the video quality, and it is really cool being able to actually be able to just pull recording straight from the VTX if you want, because it has built-in storage, which is really cool. And it kind of helped me in my last video because I think I forgot to format the SD card in the VRX. I didn't actually get the VRX recording there, so I thought, oh man, I'm gonna have to redo this whole video. But I was able just to throw that in there. It didn't show the breakup that I was seeing, which was kind of not ideal, but it was still a good representation of like what I was seeing and everything like that for the most part. So I do apologize about that. But in this video, we are actually going to pull the footage directly from the VRX DVR. So just wanted to let you know about that as well. Now, the quad that I'm going to be flying is a new QA-VS build that I just completed. I'm not going to be doing anything super crazy with it because I'm building these new quads for Rampage, which is coming up in just a few weeks. I'm super excited about it. And I want to keep these in good working order for Rampage so I can destroy them there. But what we're going to do here, as I said, have the DVR going. I'm also going to be recording on my GoPro Hero 11 Mini, and what I'm going to do with that is actually kind of have both up because we're going to test the low light capabilities. I'm going to fly 3 packs in this video. First one is in daylight still, so we'll have a good representation of what this Sony sensor looks like in full daylight. Then I'm going to fly a second pack that is at dusk when the sun's starting to set and everything like that. And then the third pack is going to be at night after sunset, and it's going to be dark out, and we're going to really be able to test the Sony sensor. Then I'm really curious to see how it handles going from like the bright to the dark, because I'm going to have floodlights on that I have in my backyard. So I can kind of go in and out of it and see how comfortable it feels going from light to dark, which is going to be really interesting. And for all 3 of these packs, I'm also going to have the GoPro recording, as I said, because I want to be able to show the difference that the GoPro sees versus what the Sony sensor sees here in the Avatar Pro kit. So just kind of give a compare and contrast there, which will be really interesting to see. I'm actually really interested to see how it turns out and everything like that. So I hope you guys are excited about this video. I know I'm excited to give this a try, and yeah, let's see what happens. All right, FPV enthusiasts, so before we get into flying this Pro kit here, as I mentioned, I want to quickly go over the updating the VRX and the VTX. So the first thing I want to do here is actually go to the Caddx website here, caddxfpv.com/pages/download. and I'll have a link down below for that for a quick reference for you. The first thing I'm going to take a look at here, we'll go ahead and open the VRX user manual, which I have opened right here. And in that, we'll see just a quick introduction, shows you kind of what all the buttons and everything, where everything is on there. But the main things we're going to be looking at here is the linking and the upgrade sections. But we're going to start off with the upgrade here. Now, what it's saying here is go to the website and download the firmware. Now, the Avatar system, they have two types of firmware, and the way they label those is ground and sky. And it's pretty straightforward. The ground is what you're going to put on your goggles or your VRX, and the sky is what you're going to put on the VTX, which is, you know, what we're sending up into the air, into the sky. So makes sense. If we go back over here, we'll see the firmware. The current firmware at the time of recording this is 32.37.10. So that's what we will download. So you would just go ahead and click on that link and the download will happen. Now I've already got it downloaded right here, so I'm not going to click on it again because I already have it. But you'll download it, you'll extract it, you'll get this right here. They do have a README in here, but as I said, you know, we have the ground and the sky, and those are what we're going to look for. Now they do have the Avatar Mini ground, and I assume the SE ground. I'm not really sure what that one goes to, but we're not going to need that here. All right, FPV enthusiasts, I'm going to interrupt this really quick. So I made a big mistake here, and I found out a little bit later and wanted to point it out. So the Avatar SE ground is actually for the VRX here. So that is the firmware we're going to use for this. I had to go back and redo that once I realized it myself. So sorry about that. So everything else is exactly the same, but we're going to put the Avatar SE ground in instead of the Avatar ground. All right, back to the video. Sorry about that. So what you're going to want to do is grab your VRX here and just go ahead and take out your SD card and get that plugged into your computer. I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. All right, so I've got that SD card out. I've got it placed into the computer. And then you can go right in that. It's listed as my USB drive F. So we have our folder here with the firmware that we downloaded, and this is our SD card. As you can see, I've already got the current firmware on here, but we'll go ahead and do it again just for demonstration purposes. So this is the VRX, so it's the ground. So we would go ahead and take this and drop it off over here. As such, let's go ahead and replace it. It's fine. And then once you have that in there in the root of the SD card, as you can see, I already have a whole bunch of DVR on here because I've been flying with it. But once you get that on there, you can go ahead and eject that and then go ahead and place that back into the VRX. All right, so tossing the SD card back in here. Never fails. I always put an SD card in upside down. If you do the same, let me know down in the comments. It's a curse. It's like trying to plug in a USB the correct way the first time. You just never seem to be able to do it. All right, so we've got that plugged in there. So the next thing we can do is go ahead and just power up the VRX at this point. Let's go back over to the manual here so I can kind of go over this. So we've got the file to the SD card. We'll power up the goggles now. Actually, technically, you don't even need to power up the goggles. You have like the split connector here. So I'm just going to leave the goggles in the power off state. But when I plug in, it'll actually just power up the VRX. All right, so I've got that plugged in. And here the fans kick up, so we know it's good. Now, it's going to be hard to see in my video here, so I'm going to scroll up here. And if we look at this number 6 here, we've got the link button, and it is super tiny, so you're gonna need something to help you press this down. So I've got this little ceramic tweezers here, and what I'm gonna do is just insert that in there, and as the upgrade instructions here say, we're just gonna hold it down for about 8 seconds, and then it's gonna start making a awful noise. And this awful noise is gonna go for a while, so I hope you're prepared for this. All right, so pressing in, holding, waiting. Okay, so it beeped. Now it's going to start initializing the firmware update here. And trust me, you will know when it starts. All right, there it goes. I think the mic would be picking this up now. And it's just going to keep making this noise for well over 5 minutes. And it's just going to keep going and going. So as it says here, it'll start emitting the beep beep sound. Do not power off. Imperative do not power off. And the upgrade time can take about 6 minutes according to this. And then after the upgrade is successful, it will stop beeping and then wait for at least 5 seconds before you power down. So we're going to go ahead and just set this down and let it beep incessantly. So we'll go ahead and let this finish, and then we'll be back in a few minutes. It's been at least 5 minutes. I haven't been counting exactly, but it's been a long time, and we still have this beeping going. It is awful. Oh, it's done. Wow, it's done. I can't believe it. All right, so wait at least 5 seconds, and then you can power down. I think we've been well over 5 seconds now at this point, so we can go ahead and just power down. And that's it for updating the VRX. So the next thing that we're going to do is update the VTX, and then we compare them, and then we can get to flying. All right, FPV enthusiasts. So now we're going to move over to the quad here, and we are going to work on updating the VTX. Now the V1 came with this cable here, which has the USB that plugs into the side of the VTX. With these new ones, they come with a new plug. And this plug here has a USB-C instead of a USB, and it actually is the female, not the male, like the previous version here for the USB. And it does have a different connector than the previous model. So what we are going to go ahead and do is make sure that you find the correct orientation to plug this in. The pins in here are very small, and I assume would be very easy to bend, and that would be a nightmare to try and get around. And then that just comes out the side of the VTX like so. Then you just grab your USB-C that's connected to your computer, and you can just plug it right in. All right, so getting this plugged in through the USB-C isn't quite enough to get it powered and connected to the computer, so you are going to need to grab a charged battery, and then you're going to have to plug the quad in, and then at that point it'll show up in your system like a flash drive. So I'm going to head over here, go ahead and plug this in. Over here you can see we've got that blinking light going, so let's head over to our system here, and as we can see we've got our, it just says avatar version, but we want to update it. All right, so we can go ahead and delete this out here. Are you sure you want to delete this? Yes, that's fine, because we're going to update it. So as you remember, the VRX is the ground, because that's the part that stays on the ground, and the VTX is sky because that's what we put in the sky. So we're going to go ahead and take the 32.37.10 sky and then toss it here onto that. Okay, so it's on there, and then we can just go ahead and eject. All right, so that's done on there. Okay, so just like when we were flashing the firmware to the VRX, we're going to have to, there's a little button here right under these LEDs. Really hard to see in this, I know, with the RGB, but we're going to take this button and we are going to press it in and hold it for 8 seconds, just like we did in that little tiny button. And then after that 8 seconds, the light's actually going to go out because it's going to restart into like the firmware update mode, and then it'll begin the update process, and then we will have a red light during that. And then we will wait to see a green blinking light come back on, and that's when we know that the firmware is done updating. I believe the process takes about 20 to 30 seconds for the update to happen, so it's not going to be 9 minutes like the VRX took. So I'm going to go ahead and press down and hold this button for 8 seconds. Okay, so the light turned off, so I can wait for that. And then now we've got the red blinking light, so that is the indicator that we are flashing the firmware. So we will continue to wait. Okay, disconnect it again, so it's restarting, and then it should reconnect, and then we should start seeing a green light here in a minute. All right, and as we can see there, we've got a green blinking light, so that lets us know that we've successfully flashed the firmware, and we're good to go. So that's really all there is to it when it comes to the VTX. A lot less time consuming than the VRX, huh? All right, so the last piece of the puzzle here, we need to link the VRX and the VTX here, so that way they will communicate with each other. So once again, I'm gonna break out the goggles and we will power up the VRX. So grabbing the ceramic tweezers again, I'm just gonna go ahead and press in on the link button, but instead of holding it down, I'm just gonna press it once. And then we just get a slow beeping there. And then what I'm gonna do is just press the button once again on the VTX. And the beeping stopped there, so now we're connected. It's really simple to get that paired. I do really like that process. All right, so I can power down the VRX and VTX here. I do have a fan blowing on this, but I don't want to leave it on too long because it is already pretty hot to the touch. All right, guys, so that's it for the firmware update for the VRX and the VTX and pairing the two. So now that we've got that out of the way, I hope that was helpful to someone out there. So now we can get to the fun part and test out the Sony sensor with the Pro Kit. So let's head on over, get to it. Pack 1, Daylight. Alright, FPV enthusiasts, so here we are, pack 1. As you can see, we got the GoPro Hero 11 Mini on top and the Avatar HD Pro Kit on the bottom. Now, this flight's pretty much exactly what we would expect. It's just a normal daytime flight, but I still wanted to have it in here just to be able to compare and contrast normal daylight versus dusk versus dark. And this is my first impressions with the Pro Kit, and honestly the video quality, in my opinion, is fantastic. I was really enjoying it, and I had no overall complaints here with this first pack. As I mentioned, this is a fresh quad that I am saving for Rampage, so I'm not doing anything too crazy with it. I'm just flying around pretty cautiously, not really doing a whole lot. Pack 2, Dusk. Alright, so here we are at Dusk. The GoPro Hero 11 Mini on top is definitely looking a little bit darker. I did not change any of the settings. And on the bottom with the HD Pro Kit here, it still looks fantastic. A little bit darker than we had in the first clip, but still everything's completely visible. And once again, I had really no complaints with this. And I was just really just enjoying my flight. Pack 3, Dark. Alright, so here we are after dark, and the GoPro, it is completely black. You can make out some faint lights from like the neighbors' houses and my house, but yeah, it's not visible at all. But when we look at the HD Pro Kit, I mean, we can see pretty much everything, honestly. Like, especially in the light here, like we can make out individual blades of grass and everything, which was completely amazing to me. I do have a small complaint with going from like the light into the dark. The sensor seems to take just like a split second to really change over, and we'll be able to see that a little bit better here later in the clip. But honestly, it's not bad, and I'm still completely amazed with this camera. But I did want to point that out, that you know, like going in from the light into the dark, it definitely made me a little uncomfortable, and I wanted to fly a little more cautious, or maybe not attempt something that I otherwise thought I wanted to try and do. Yeah, but look here, you can see like individual blades of grass in there, some leaves. It's amazing. We got a little glimpse there of it like changing over from light into dark. I'm not really sure like the proper terminology for that, but yeah, it like shifted into like a dark mode or whatever. Right, now here I'm gonna go under the tree, and definitely could not see the branch, so I clipped it a little bit. That was not the best example we will have, though, of the sensor switching from the light into the dark. That'll be coming up here in just a minute. Alright, so as we come down here, we're going to go around this tree, and then we're going to go around the left side here, the house underneath this tree, and that's when we'll get the best visual. So right there, for a split second, we've got just like a completely black screen, and then it switched over into the night mode, and it definitely caught me off guard there for how long that took, so I didn't want to move very fast, so that's definitely something to watch out for. Here I went back underneath that tree, and I was able to make it under the branch, and honestly that part didn't affect me too much, so not really a huge complaint in regards to flying through it over there, but still definitely wanted to note that yeah, you gotta be careful when it's switching from that light to dark, just so you're not gonna crash into something that you can't see in that like split second. But yeah, so that was my 3 packs. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, if I was able to capture this in a sufficient manner. And yeah, I want to know your thoughts if you've flown it and have similar or even different results. I would definitely like to hear it down below. Alright, FPV enthusiasts, that's going to bring us to the end of the video here, and I really hope that this video helped kind of show off what that Sony sensor in the new Avatar HD Pro kit is like. If you found it useful or anything like that, please hit that like button, think about hitting that subscribe button, because I am going to have a follow-up video here for the other VTX that I have as well. This quad is almost done. I just had to wait on a replacement flight controller because the one I had was defective, but I'll have that done here soon, and we'll have that follow-up video. And ultimately, I probably will end up switching out the cameras off of this one and the one that we just flew, mainly because I have the LED lights on here, so I figure flying this at night might be a little bit better because of that, so I'll probably end up switching that out. But I decided to go ahead and throw it on this one just because I wanted to go ahead and test it out sooner than later. It'll be easy to swap the cameras out, so I'm not too concerned about that. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, and if you have anything to add or anything I missed, I'm sure I missed something somewhere along the lines, go ahead and let me know down in the comments, and I do try and reply to all of them. So yeah, it'd be great to see what you guys think down below. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.